Hey there, it's Teresa here. Really excited to share with you some things that have just been coming up for me and creating, quite frankly, a few like head tilts for me in terms of how I think about money and God, all stemming from this big idea that I'm percolating with that I'll be talking about live from the Gary Marshall Theater in Burbank, California in August. And that big idea is that we need a new creation story than the one that we grew up with in order to create a new financial story for ourselves, but also for this world. So I'm so honored that you're here. If you're catching the replay, kudos. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please be sure to add your comments as you're watching as well. Good morning, Masha. I'm so glad you could join. As you come to the live stream, just type in a good morning. I am using a different computer, Masha. So if you'd be willing to quick type in that you're hearing and seeing me okay, I'll just know technology is working well, and then I'll just jump in. So I'll just wait a moment for Masha to type in that I'm coming through okay here. There's always a bit of a delay. I'll take my last cup of tea because once I start talking, it seems like I forget to. So I'm going to assume that we are doing well. The delay is taking a little bit longer. So yep, thumbs up from Masha. All righty. So this happened for me a couple of months ago as I was kind of percolating, exploring, listening to the divine, my guides for what's this new creation story? What's this? Good morning, Janelle. What's this all about? And I knew, and here I'm being really honest with you, that I need to embrace a new or different creation story, the original creation story, to create my own new financial story for my life. Jeffrey Van Dyke, my coach, oftentimes says that, the message that we're here to give and share with others, with our tribe, our own purpose in life is first and foremost for ourselves. And for 23 years, Janelle, you've been around for a long enough time. I have said I am the poster child for the expression, you teach best what you most need to learn yourself. And as I've shared, I think on in our previous conversations, for most of my life, I've had this split between God and money. It wasn't even conscious. And consciously, for many years, especially since I started Access Abundance, I would have said, no, that's not true. But in terms of my actual relationship with money, in terms of my life experience and how I lived my life, that split was pretty clear. And the real abundance has started to show up in my life these past 2.5, 3 years, when I began to bridge that split and make the connection, all of which is leading to these conversations. So back to the little shift or aha I had a few. Janelle's laughing. Yes, I've said that a few times. Good morning, Susan. It came in like this. I'm just going to say it like that. The words were that came in as, it's not my money. And I could say it to you, it's not your money. And when that came in, it just resonated with me like there's truth to that. There's a shift to that. I have the thought that there are many layers to this, so we'll probably be talking about this again next week. But here's what's showing up. And it really does go back to these two creation stories from the book of Genesis, that if you grew up in a Christian tradition, a traditional Christian tradition, you've probably heard, and probably, like me, have absorbed the emphasis on the second part of the second creation story, which is when Adam and Eve didn't do what God asked, ate the fruit of the tree, and were banished from the garden. And there's where the separation began in our minds. But you see, when we start thinking about things as, when I think of it as my money, that just brings in all sorts of new energies. Like if it's my money, I have to protect it. I have to defend it. I have to earn it. I feel entitled. I have to hold on to it. All of which are energies of scarcity, not abundance. When it's my money, then there's threat, there's competition showing up in me. Again, I have to protect and defend. When it's my money, there's this ownership, which gets amplified when we go into, and I earned it and I worked for it. Let me know if you're can get this, that when we claim possession of money, making it my money, that brings the fear element in, the scarcity element in, because there's mine and then there's not mine. And then there's separation, there's threat, there's competition, there's hoarding, there's there's contracting, there's holding on. You with me? Just by adding that little word, my money, and your money, my money, your money, my money, your money. It sounds like a 2-year-old, doesn't it? And there's more separation. Susan's getting it. That's not the message. In the original creation story, that's not the original Christian tradition. That's not really how the universe works. It's not my money and it's not your money. It's just money. It's just money. It's like the universe's money. Now, how does this connect to the creation story? I really wanted to see if I could do a screen share and let you see the words from Genesis 1, but I'm not sure if that's going to work so well. So I'm just going to read some things. So in the very first chapter of Genesis, that's the creation story, where you hear about how God on the first day created light, and on the second day this, and on the third day this, and always God declared everything that God created to be good. That's the original creation story. It's goodness. And you go down, and on the whatever day, the fifth day, you hear that God had the water teem with living creatures, and birds fly in the sky. God told those things to be fruitful and multiply. And then on the sixth day, God created creatures of the land, like livestock and wild animals, and told them to multiply and be fruitful. And then that was the sixth day. And then on the seventh day, God made man, human beings, in this creation story, in this creation poem, really. And again, God blessed human beings. The original creation story begins with us being blessed, not because of what we've done, not because of, because we've earned anything. Like, that's our original state, goodness and God blessing us. And then God says, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the earth, every tree that has fruit with seed in it, they will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds in the sky, and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give it to you for food. And God declared that to be very good. And so the movement again is God giving us resources for food. But that's to say that it's ours for food is very different than they're ours. It's mine. It's mine. It also talks in the story about how, like, everything that God created is there to give life to others. You know, there's the plants that give life to the animals and the birds, and there's the water that gives life to the fish, and there's the plants and animals that give life to us. It's like there's an ecosystem in that story that everything created belongs to everyone. There's abundance and it's for all. I'm going to invite you right now to just take a breath. Take a breath and feel that energy, that life force of oxygen flowing into your lungs. You didn't make that oxygen. You didn't have to deserve or earn that oxygen. It was there, already created for you by the divine, by the source of abundance. But now tell me, Janelle, what's your oxygen and what's Susan's oxygen and what's my oxygen? Can you say, well, this is my oxygen, Janelle, you can't have it. And Susan going, well, Teresa, this is my oxygen, you can't have it, it's mine. We don't do that with the oxygen that gives us life, do we? Because there's no way we can claim it as being ours. It's just oxygen. It's the world, the universe's oxygen. I'm inviting you, challenging you to begin to map that on when it comes to money. It's just this source of money shared by all on this planet. Now, I'll be the first to admit, it's not necessarily being shared in ways that bless and provide food for everyone on this planet. That's why we need this new financial story. We got to go back to the original creation story. And I think that one of the reasons that happened, as I've been reflecting on this, is because of the passage in that same Genesis story that talks about God telling man, because there is no Adam, they weren't named in the first Genesis story, but telling man and woman, humans, to rule over the fish in the sea and rule over the birds in the sky and rule over the plants. And the picture, the image that comes to mind when we talk about ruling over something, especially in our American culture, is very much, that's mine. I get to use it for what I want. It's mine. I have authority. It's about domination. But that's not the original or the only understanding of the word rule. I wish I could translate the original language of the scripture. And I'm going to check with someone who can, because I'm going to guess that the original word used for rule had a very different meaning. And I actually began exploring that this morning. And I'm not going back to the original translation, but some ancient, like 4, 5, 6 century ago, definitions of the word rule meant something very different. It meant, it was like regulation governing the play of a game. So it's not about dominating, it's more about regulating how the game is played so all can play, in a sense. So it's more about supporting order than mine, dominating, taking entitlement. And then going back even later, it goes back to a Latin word, regulare, which basically means straight stick, like those rulers we used in grade school to measure things. And a ruler, following this definition, is a pattern, a model, or a guide. I've read that the meaning of the word rule in Genesis 1 was to be a steward of all, to be a model or to guide it. That's very different than to take possession of and own it and declare it as yours. Again, when I start thinking of it as my money, which also makes it my money problems if I have them, um, I start to put myself in entitlement. I start to put myself in source, like it's my money and I got to make it happen, make my money. And that too gets us off in a place of scarcity because it's my money and I make it happen and I manage it and I do this and it's for me and it's for my life. And we start to think of ourselves as the source. And that just ain't how abundance works. And that's not the original creation story. So I have changed many affirmations that I use around money, where I've said, I give thanks for the money that I have received and the blessings it provides. Now, that's a still true affirmation. But the second part of it I use regularly is like I make choices with my money that support me to prosper physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It made it about me instead of the greater creation, the whole, the abundance of all that's there in the original creation story. So I crossed out the words my, and it completely shifted it. I make choices with money, not my money, with money that support me and all to prosper physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That makes me feel like I'm part of a bigger whole. That in and of itself is an abundant feeling. And it reconnects me to the reality of creation. That it's already been created, and it's been created to be fruitful and multiply and expand, and it's been created with an order that has everything support each other. And we're part of a oneness instead of a mineness. It's also opened me up when I start to get into some like, oh, how am I going to make money? Like it's up to me. For me, it's like, okay, how do I tap into the money that already exists? Just like the oxygen. And how do I use that money in ways that give life and blessing to me and all of creation? It's a head tilter for me. And there's other layers of it, but I don't want to go on too much today. So I'm just going to start with that. You know, in these days of global warming and environmental degradation and animals and plants and insects and birds going extinct. One of my lights just burnt out. So if I got a little darker, that's why. A lot of it is because we've had that dominate, it's mine and I get to use it for me relationship with the resources of the earth. It hasn't worked too well. I would submit to you that we're doing as a collective and as individuals, we may be doing the exact same thing with money. And a lot of the environmental degradation and the inequalities and the ways we are abusing the earth's resources and damaging it can all be tracked back to money and wanting profit and making money. And all of those things are good, but they're all going back to me and my money, whether that's me as an individual, you as an individual, or me as in America, us versus them. We're all part of the oneness, the abundance of creation. It's not my oxygen and your oxygen. It's not my land, even though I've, paid to live here. And it's not your land. It's not my money and your money. And I would invite you this week to just try that on. Try on letting go of thinking of it as mine, including any money problems you have, and just get, this is some struggle I'm experiencing with money right now. Okay. Instead of owning it, claiming it as yours. And just notice if, like for me, it created some breathing room for you. It created some openness for you. It has the fear, the threat, the defensiveness, the I gotta hold on to, I gotta protect. It takes the scarcity out of it and just opens you even in the little bit to, oh, I'm part of something bigger here. There's money for all. That's the creation story. There's resources for all. And not just the external resources, the resources within us. But they're not ours as in mine for me. They're part of the ongoing creation that's meant to govern or support or guide the play, the abundance, so that it blesses and adds to the abundance. That's really the original design, the original model, the original rule in the new sense of the word, as outlined in that original creation story from the book of Genesis, chapter 1. So that's what's cooking for me. That's what I'm playing with. Like, what if individually as and collectively, we stopped thinking of it as my money? Questions, comments, ideas, thoughts? Is this a head tilt for any of you on right now? Any openings or shifts for you? I'm going to take a cup of my tea, give you time to type because I know there's a bit of a delay. Curiosity. I know it's been a head tilter for me. What about you? And are you willing? Give me a yes if you are. To just this week, when you catch yourself thinking, my money, I'm my or our, my husband, any ownership of it, just dropping that and just calling it money. Just calling it money. Like it's oxygen. Not my oxygen, it's oxygen. Give me a yes if you're willing to do that, just so I can see that you're engaged with me. Very big delay. Next week, we're going to try doing this Facebook live stream on a different platform that I'm hoping there'll be a faster response time. Masha's going love the mind shift. Susan's going insightful. But I'm hoping that the new platform we're going to try on, one, that technology will work as planned. And secondly, we'll be able to have faster interaction. There won't be the delay. Susan's willing to let go of the my and just speak money. And please do come back and share. And Masha, yes, come back and add your comments, what you notice when you let go of that. And just talk of it as money. It's part of the universe, just like oxygen. Thanks so much for being here. I really love doing these. I hope they're stirring things for you. It's definitely given me an opportunity to practice sharing some things that are coming to me that I think will become part of this talk that I'm doing in August, but also this body of work that I'm really feeling like I'm been put on the planet here to offer and share with people. So blessings all of you on your day. So glad you could be here. If you think this may support anyone you know, please do feel free to share it with them. I'd love to have more people being exposed to these ideas. And I'll see you same time, same place, but on a different platform next Wednesday. Bye, everybody.